What's up, everyone? Welcome to GameSpot. If you're watching this, you're here because you have either beaten Uncharted 4, A Thief's End, or you just desperately want it spoiled for you. One of which is here with us. Pete Brown has not beaten the game, but he's comfortable with us spoiling it. He's going to lend a different perspective than Ty, Rob, and I, who have all finished it. Correct?
That is correct.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's a lot to talk about. Story-heavy game in a lot of different ways, and it tells the story pretty well, in my opinion. I like the game a lot. But Pete, I figured it'd be a good way to start off and tell us where you are in the game.
Yeah.
And where you think it might be going. Oh, we might just jump in and spoil it.
Okay, so chapter 11 in Madagascar. That's when I decided.
Like halfway through.
Yeah, it's about halfway through.
Chapter-wise, yeah.
Yeah, and I played everything up until that point in one sitting because I really liked the game. And I had never really beaten any of the other games in the series. So this was sort of like a new start for me. And I really enjoyed it, and I wanted to go back, but I'm moving. I've been really busy. I had a lot of fun playing it, and I like the story that they present, but I'm not like emotionally invested in it, so I don't feel like I'm going to be missing out too much because I know I still have a bunch of great game to play.
Okay.
So I'm in.
Cool.
Let's do it.
Sweet. So you just got to Madagascar, I think.
Correct.
Right, like just got to Madagascar.
Yeah, like they gave me control of the Jeep, and I turned off the system.
Yeah, so you go, like, a lot of people don't even want us to spoil it, like, outside of this. They don't want to spoil the location. So it's Madagascar after Scotland, after, you know, like, Boston as a kid, New Orleans when he's living with Elena. But then you go to Libertalia, you find out that Henry Avery, the legendary pirate captain who pulled off the biggest heist in pirate history on the Gunsway, his ship, has 400 million gold, and the brothers Nathan and Sam have been chasing it for a while, like their whole life. And they finally track it down to like where it's going to be Libertalia. The clues lead them there. You find out later on, Rafe and Nadine kind of corner Drake and Sam on this like cliff edge in Libertalia, and you find out that he's, you know, you've got Hector Alcazar hanging over, like looming over the whole time, and you kind of assume he might be the final villain. Turns out he's been dead a few years. When Sam came to Drake, it was actually Rafe came back to the prison, found like he had searched Scotland, couldn't find anything. He came back because he knew Sam might have like answers for him, so he just bribed the guards. Sam walked out of the prison.
Right? No, yeah, I remember that. Or was that?
No, you don't remember
was
that
after the
because
fact?
that was
No, but I thought
revealed
I
later.
remember him walking out of the prison because the guard was like, "Oh, I want to let you in on this thing."
No, that was Nathan.
That was Nathan. Oh,
So
shit,
Sam,
right.
you find out later that Sam came out and made up the whole Hector Alcazar thing because he knew Nathan might not be on board because I think he had like assumed he might
Right,
be.
but because his
leading
life
a
is in
calmer
danger
life.
because he owns a debt.
Because when you find out when they were kids, they made like this pact. Like they were basically rummaging through their mother's belongings, and they were in this like big mansion. I forgot whose mansion that was.
It was their mom's like archaeological partner kind of.
Okay, yeah. So you find out why they took the name Drake. They weren't like what was their actual like
Morgan.
Okay, yeah. And then you find out that they say, hey, you know, Nathan Drake. It was rumored he had no heirs, but maybe he did have heirs. Who the hell knows? And so they just take on his name.
Sir Francis Drake.
Yeah, Sir Francis Drake. And then they make a pact right there to go find Avery's treasure because that was what their mom was working on, and that was what they wanted to like kind of like do as a brother tandem to kind of bond and be like, this is our purpose, right? Mm-hmm. And that from that point forward, you're like, okay, this is where the direction they're headed. And I think what was so amazing to me was Sam is a new character we've never seen before ever, and we had no idea Nathan Drake even had a brother until this game. So my biggest concern going in is how are they going to make you care about who this person is? How are they going to make you relate to Sam? How are they going to actually make you care about Sam or fear Sam or question him? Because, you know, we're used to seeing Elena and Sully and Nathan, you know, and maybe Chloe, whoever, right? Like these are like classic, iconic Uncharted characters. I thought they did an awesome job considering that you don't really, it's really just the Sam and Nathan show for most of that game, you know? Sully obviously shows up, so does Elena, but they really make you kind of care and relate to Sam a lot. You're like, you're invested in him, you know? Like, in fact, midway through the game, when the title is A Thief's End, I thought it was going to be his end. I thought his greediness and desire to find Avery's treasure and put that above all else was going to meet his ultimate demise at some point, you know? It just seemed like a very cliche kind of, you know, archetype to follow in that case, you know? But they really make you care about him. And I thought they did a great job with that.
And they really, and it really hits home for me and you know, I'm sure you guys as well, when they, you know, after the big bomb with, you know, Sam's lie, you think, well, fuck Sam. But then right after, he takes a bullet for his brother.
Yeah.
Like, it's that constant back and forth dynamic with those two guys where you care about them and then you don't. And then that's why I also felt like initially one of my biggest beefs was like when Sam drops the lie, like the whole thing was a setup just to get his brother out there, Nate. Later on, you see Nate isn't initially really upset about it. And then I feel later on, he kind of just forgets about it. And, he's just like, I need to save my brother. Then it's from then on out, it's all pure, I love you, brother, I'll do anything for you.
Yeah.
But there was a moment where I was like, I needed a little more disagreement. I needed more anger out of Nate for basically fucking up his whole life.
Well, he was quite visibly pissed off when he found out his brother kind of lied to him,
Yeah.
I guess my concern, maybe why I didn't feel the same way was because my biggest fear when that double cross happens, I don't even want to call it double cross. It was more like Sam was lying because he wanted to convince his brother to get out there and help him find this treasure. And he knew the only way to do that was to lie and say my life's in danger. Because Nathan would definitely risk his life to save his brothers. And that's the only way they can have this brother experience, right? This bond, this pact they made when they were kids.
And that was understandable from Sam's way.
Yeah,
okay.
exactly. And I think that's why Nathan took him up and said, okay, yeah, we have to rescue you. We have to save you, But my biggest fear was like, I didn't want it to be like that very common archetype you see like in these brother duo movies where like, you think they're friends and everything's great the entire movie. And then at the very end, it turns out he's just a double-crossing asshole who like betrays his brother, So it wasn't a sense of betrayal as in like, he's like, ha ha ha, I've been working with Rafe and Nadine, is it Nadine?
Yeah, Nadine.
Nadine all this time, but he still like he felt remorse. He did feel guilty, and he was really worried about his brother finding out, and you could tell like he was not happy when Rafe just let the cat out of the bag and said, hey, by the way, your brother lied to you, ha ha ha. I just could sense his remorse. I'm like, man, he must feel like shit,
Dang.
Well, he also, for a while he wasn't working with Rafe. He kind of double-crossed Rafe.
He did.
And went off on his own to get
because
Nathan.
he did it for his brother. He said, this is what me and my brother were supposed to do. We made this pact as children or as kids. And so he took Rafe up on his offer, but eventually double-crossed Rafe to say, no, fuck you, I'm going to go do this with my brother because this is what we were meant to do. So yes, he lied to Nathan, but I think maybe why there wasn't a lot of anger there was because maybe Nathan was like, hey, I understand this was meant for you and me to do together.
I totally know the scene now that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Is the scene that you and Jake were mentioning, which is when the reason why I think Nathan forgives Sam is because when they find out about Avery poisoning all of those people, and there's that moment where he is getting so riled up, and the camera stays on Elena, and he's getting so riled up, and he says, "I'm sorry," because that is the moment where he realizes, you know what? Yeah, my brother double-crossed me and all this stuff, but I needed this. I had a normal. I switched to a normal life. I have a deep passion for doing what I'm doing, and I could blame Sam for screwing my life up, but in reality, this was something that I needed and I actually wanted deep down inside.
But what was that job that Elena was trying to convince Nathan to take?
The Malaysia job.
Malaysia, which was illegal. They didn't have the permits to dive for that with the company. So that was both of them. Like that was Elena's way of saying like we are not cut out for this normal middle class,
Suburban life
white picket fence life.
Yeah.
Right. So what I don't get is why Nathan felt that he had to lie. Was it because she was encouraging him to do that job in the first place?
Because that was the lesser of two evils, I think, in saying like I'm going to Malaysia, I'm actually going to take it without you, or like I'm going to take it, but he just didn't want to do that because it was illegal. And he was fine. He was done with that danger.
So let me ask you this then, because I don't know. Does there come a point where, obviously Elena finds out that Nathan was lying to her. Does she ever say to him, like, why didn't you tell me?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah. There's
Me.
all right, so that's, you're
Absolutely.
close to that scene, actually, where you are.
Okay.
They get back
I figured
after
because she's like, oh, I'll come visit. And he's like,
They get back to Madagascar, and
So-
that shows this, the camera's like inside the hotel room, and it's
Yeah.
looking at the door, and him and them walk in after they found out. So, yeah, there's more of the pirate story that we can get into,
And-
but
Go ahead.
they get back, and Drake looks behind the camera. He's like, "Oh shit!" And I thought the room was ransacked, but it was just her like looking at this stuff. She figured it out. Like there's a phone call earlier where you can tell by the way, like look on her face and the way she's probing him. She knows he's lying.
Yeah.
Like, she knows it's bullshit.
Yeah.
She's like, "How was the storm there? I heard it's dangerous." She's like, "Yeah, it delayed the job a couple days." And then you could tell like she like hesitates and then
She knows
lets
something
him lie. Kind of.
Did she lie about the storm? Was there not even a storm?
That's what I thought. Like maybe there
probably,
wasn't.
yeah.
Like that's what I was thinking, and she just didn't want to call him out there because she was that like shocked. and
Well, what's
pissed, but-
interesting is that she goes. I think she moves to the computer. Like I'll buy tickets right now. She's probably like I'm buying tickets.
Yeah, trying to find out what the hell he's up to. I
Yeah.
mean, so this is what I felt. This is what I connected with the story so much because, and I don't know if this is because I'm older or because I understand what complacency is like, but that's why the whole opening chapter, where he's like diving for, you know, he works for a salvage company in New Orleans. He's just it's like a regular, honest job, right? And you can just tell he's bored. He's complacent. You know, starting the way the game starts, where you're in his attic and he's basically going through all of his like accomplishments, all the treasures he's found, all the adventures he's been on. You know, and you can tell he kind of escapes up there, right? That's his life prior to this like very domesticated experience with him and Elena. And then, you know, it's kind of like also the tutorial. So it kind of is like, hey, this is to remind you about all the adventures you've been on. And here's a Nerf gun to remind you of what fun it was to be like in combat and crap, you know?
Kill people.
And the funny thing is like, it goes back to like him and Elena on the couch. You know, they're playing Crash Bandicoot. It's kind of fun. But at the same time, you can tell like both of them, like that they're just bored and they're in a rut, right? They're trying to figure out what their purpose is. They're not cut out for this kind of life. And think about it. That whole thing never would have happened had Sam not come back and lied to his brother. You know, he never would have been able to convince Nathan to come on an adventure with him if he just said, hey, I'm out of prison, let's go find this treasure. Because
Absolutely.
in his mind, he's like, wait, no, I promised Elena I would leave this dangerous crap behind.
Right.
We would start our normal life, everything else. But at the same time, and at the very end of it, and are you going to beat it? Whatever, fine.
I really want
it
to.
doesn't matter. The point is, we're spoiling it for everybody anyway. At the end of the game, like both Elena and Nathan come to this realization that they needed this. This saved their marriage. This saved their relationship.
And themselves. They both are like they don't like being complacent, but it was them coming to grips with the fact that you can do that in a legal setting that's not endangering your life.
Exactly.
So the epilogue, which I'll talk about if you don't mind.
No, go.
You go back to playing, it cuts, like when you think the game might be over, it cuts to, you play Crash Bandicoot again. I'm like, are you serious? Is it the credits? And you beat it, and you still can't beat the high score, which is still 3,500, which is what Elena set, how many, probably like 12 years before this.
Yeah.
And it pans around, it's Cassie, this blonde, like maybe 12, 13-year-old, I'd say.
Yeah.
Next to a dog in this like really, like, it looks like a tropical setting, but I think it was the Gulf of Mexico. It was probably Louisiana or somewhere again. Or
I'm from that area. That is not.
Or maybe like
that is not the Gulf of Mexico.
Or no, maybe like
it was like blue water. It was like
Caribbean, man.
Caribbean.
Yeah.
So you're looking for Nathan and Elena, who are her mom and dad, and then you go into this office, this hut next to it, and you look on the walls. It's DNF Excavations. It's this company that they clearly formed. They're on the cover of like National Geographic. They're on the cover of Time. So you find out that they found a way to be adventurous and reconcile like their own nature in a way that's not endangering them, or in the future with Cassie. And then of course she like finds this cabinet that's locked, and she finds the keys finally, and then Drake and Elena are off doing whatever. And you see notes on the fridge saying they're getting ready, and like Sully's gonna come visit in a few days with Uncle Sam and stuff. And she unlocks his cabinet, finds all like the skull. She finds the piece of the Chintamani stone. She finds the doubloon that set off the first game.
The fact that he went to Shambhala and like all that kind of stuff. And
so then Nate comes in. They kind of find out that she's doing that. So like, oh shit, now we have to tell her, because they found the picture that was taken in the first game of Elena, Sully, and Nathan on the pile of gold from the end of the one. So she's like, what the fuck? Because Dad's got a shotgun over his shoulder. What is that? And then so they start asking her, and then like it just becomes like Nathan and Elena on the way to their sailing trip start telling her the story. Like, oh, it started like back in like whatever, like. They're like, where to start? And then that's why it kind of frames the first three games in a cool way. You could play 4 and then go back. But also it just like, it kind of drove home the fact that, like they talk about Saint Dismas the whole time.
Right.
The penitent thief, he was the one, like supposedly in the Bible, he was crucified on the cross next to Jesus. He was the penitent thief.
Did that pay off? I felt like they were hitting that nail many times.
So that was the whole thing. This is like, you're worrying because you start to find out that Henry Avery was in fact like recruiting the best pirates to pool their treasure and create Libertalia. Through
these really elaborate initiation schemes where you have to find this like.
That was just their effort to make like a treasure hunt.
Yeah, that's also the series, right?
No, I know. I get that, but like just the idea of it to me was just like. Okay,
no, it did. It's cool because the more like relationships in the modern day fall apart, you realize like what the treasure did to these people, and you're like, fuck, this is happening to Drake. And up until like the last boss fight. So you find the treasure, and you're in the Gunsway.
It's Goonies, man.
It's totally Goonies.
I waited to say that. God damn it.
One-Eyed Willie. It was like his ship. I'm like, wow, they just ripped this off from the Goonies. Like that was, I loved it. I thought it was amazing.
I liked it. Yeah.
But he's also, it's cool because he's chasing Sam, who's chasing the treasure. So you're like, shit. I think Drake might still be obsessed with the treasure too. And the way that they show the treasure, like without much fanfare, you walk into the ship, and in gameplay, it's just, oh, there's the treasure, and you start walking over it to find Sam. He doesn't give a shit about the treasure. It's 400 million worth of gold. He literally, you fight the last boss on it, Rafe.
Yeah.
You were getting this sword fight, which I really liked.
I love the
The
sword
boss
fight.
fight was one of the best boss fights I've ever played.
Yeah.
This was a actual like duel where you're, I won't go too far into it, but it was a very engaging boss fight that I lost many times.
It's a spoiler cast.
Yeah.
Get into it, man.
And Sam nearby is pinned under a wooden beam. They can't lift it.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's
Conveniently.
he's like dying. Yeah.
Yeah, you show up
Yeah.
and he's already there. Yeah, he's just under it.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, you finish it.
Well, no, you're fighting Rafe, and like Rafe's the only one still. Nadine just like, all right, fuck, it's not worth it. She leaves with like the few mercenaries she has left.
That sucks. She was like a really cool character.
Yeah,
so
she
far.
was. She like
But she
pretty much
played
told
her-
Rafe.
Yeah.
She told Rafe like screw off, and she.
But
was
she
done
played her
with it.
part. Like I thought
Yeah,
what
she
she did was very believable. She was like, okay, fuck all y'all. You're all crazy. I'm taking what treasure I can find and my crew and getting the hell out of here.
Well, she had the smallest stake and everything. She was
Yeah.
doing it to save the company pretty much. And
Yeah.
she knew Rafe was onto like the whole.
I have a real quick question. I want to backtrack a little bit. So at the auction, right, where Sam is dressed as a waiter and Rafe and Nadine are standing there.
Yes.
You guys were telling me earlier, and I'm kind of thinking about it again now, that they had some sort of working relationship.
No, at that point they didn't.
At that point, they didn't?
They didn't see Sam. He was like I was thinking about that
Well,
too.
that's just it. But he's like maybe they didn't see him, but he's like feet away.
Yeah, but I think he realized like they had to turn the lights off anyway,
Okay.
and then be right
Right.
near the thing. So
Yeah.
I guess that was just because Sully was distracting him or whatever.
Because the way it worked out is
But
Rafe originally hired Sam. He got Sam out of prison to help him find this treasure, and then Sam double-crossed him and ditched him. And that's when he goes and tries to get Nadine to help him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, Sam looks really nervous that entire time, and that makes more sense. Like, you're like, oh, they're about to pull off the heist, but he's done that stuff before since he was a kid.
Oh, and even in the first steps of the villa, he's like, I'm gonna go outside here. You guys go downstairs.
Yeah.
And then, so it makes sense. He doesn't want Rafe or
He
Nadine
doesn't
to see them.
want to be anywhere near
No.
any of that. Yeah.
And also, really cool thing about the prison break that you play as him that like never happened, and you play it. It's
Yeah.
like the way
Yeah, yeah.
It's all a lie.
It's the way True Detective kind of did, like their narrator not trusting you, but they actually made you play it.
Yeah.
Which is cool. It's almost like they're investing you more in it, and then the game like also kind of betrays you in that way. And that's really cool because actually when I saw Jake Decker playing through it, that same chapter, there's these little parts of dialogue in the game where people are saying like, this is going way better than we thought it would. And the whole time you're thinking like, this is going like really well. Every time you go near your door, it's rigged to explode. Those people conveniently got by the guard somehow really quietly. And you're
Yeah.
like, this is all too good to be true. And it turns out it was. And it's really cool when you go back and look at it how like, I thought I was reading too much into that, but then like watching him play, when hearing that dialogue people saying like, yeah, this plan is working out way too well and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I even remember like as that game progressed, like halfway through, you're like, where is that ultimate villain that they hinted at in the beginning? Like
It's on the inside, Rob.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Well, it's
Like,
greed. I mean, the whole thing is based off like greed and like putting that ahead of your family, right? I mean, that's the whole like synopsis and theme of this entire like game is the sense of like, okay, when do you let go and just say, okay, obviously I need to reevaluate my desires, the things that I really want, what's most important to me, like Mike mentioned, when Nathan finds the treasure, when they find, One-Eyed Willie's ship in the middle of that freaking mountain, it's like there's the treasure, it's there, but I'm looking for my brother. I came here to get him. Let's get out of here alive and let's prioritize what's most important, right? Now, of course, the funny thing is at the very end when, Nathan and Elena kind of like realize that they can have this adventurous life but do it right and do it less dangerously, and they kind of reconnect and everything's great and they reconcile. That's when you kind of see Sam and Sully go off and be like, well, I have 15 years to catch up on in terms of like getting out of prison and wanting to kind of be adventurous and still live that life, and Sully clearly still does too. Mm-hmm. So they kind of go off and just do their own thing, and and that's when Elena drops the bombshell like, oh, I bought the company, I bought the salvage company, and we're gonna go get the Mona Lisa treasure.
Actually, it turns out Sam did sneak out a bunch of golden coins.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
And that's how Elena was, and that's how they were able to buy the business and go now. And then she's going to film like a documentary about the treasure. So she gets to do what she wants to do and what she's been dying to do, and then Nathan gets to go and get the treasure, And it's all legal. And
that's
just
yeah, and that's the whole thing with the penitent thief. Like he was brought into paradise supposedly. And here's my crackpot theory that I had kind of come up with. That whole thing, the ending is like almost too good. It makes sense. It fits because he came to grips with it. He realized he's done with this shit. That's why it's called a thief's end.
Yeah.
What if just throwing it out there kind of like stir the pot a little bit? What if he really did die? And that last epilogue is just like the paradise, because it's paradise. Like this tropical setting. He's got everything. He's got
What would have caused him to die? Because I'm not privy to what.
It could have been like the ship sinking, like
that would have been it. But
it's not like a concrete thing, but it could have been the ship when he was on it was burning down, and the only way he got Sam out from under the beam was to like purposely flood the room.
Yeah, he had lit a cannon.
So the last shot is the entrance to where the ship came into the cave is crumbling down, and they dip to white.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't know.
So that's your.
So that could be the only way, but then again, I mean, I don't know. For this to pick up right away, I think your theory would stand better if it went immediately to the epilogue.
Sure. Yeah. Right.
Then it would be more like, oh, did he die?
I don't actually believe it. I
think it's an interesting thought.
I think the good ending fits. I think after the stuff that like, there's a lot of things we don't have the time to touch on that Drake did come to, like that one scene. You find the bodies of like 10 of the 12 pirates on this table, and that's where Drake is like going off. Like, these are some of the greatest pirates that ever lived.
Yeah.
And it does this like shot on Elena while he's talking, and it doesn't even show him. And you're saying like, and she's got this look on her face. She's like, I think she realizes like he's not going to change. They need to do something, but also they need to like get out of this dangerous lifestyle. And also B, she likes it too, whether she admits it or not. And it's not like she's just being pulled along. Like, she is there of her own accord, and she's like, she calls the shots at the end of the game pretty much, which I liked. I think they're, I think earlier in the game she feels kind of like this ancillary character that they're using conveniently, but later on she really comes back and is like, all right, I'm taking over. This is what we're going to do. We're going to have this kind of this lifestyle we want, but we're not going to like endanger ourselves.
And that's why I think I told you both, like at the very beginning of that game, I got kind of teary-eyed, because I was watching this experience between Elena and Nate in the very beginning where they both, it's like they're not being 100% honest with themselves, so therefore they're not being 100% honest with each other. Like, they're like, you can tell like they have like some sort of an intimacy issue. They have very small talk type conversations. It's like, how was your day at work? Great. How was your day at work? No, you tell me about your day, and it's like very kind of just small talk, right? It's very surface level stuff, and I feel like any long relationship will go through this rut where like you might run out of things to talk about. You may not be doing the things that you love. You're so worried about the other person and their happiness that you kind of put your own needs aside. And I thought they did such an amazing job of just making the player realize what they were going through. And I think that's why like it spoke to me so well, because it's like so many times have I been in a situation where, whether it's with an ex-girlfriend or some friends where like you just feel like something's off and you feel like something's not quite right, that you're putting someone else's needs ahead of your own, and you kind of forget what was important to you, And instead of actually having a conversation about it, which is what would be the healthy thing to do, and just open and have an intimate talk about it, you kind of just play it off. Like, it's just surface level stuff.
Devise a different problem that you think is, something to distract you.
Exactly. You find distractions, and that's why it's like, here's, whatever, play Crash Bandicoot. Here's our typical day. I'm just going to go rescue this stuff. I'm not going to do the Malaysia job because we don't have the papers for it, even though Elena's pushing him to do it, It's like all this stuff. Or I guess it was actually his boss that was pushing him to do it, even though they didn't have the papers.
The illegal one, yeah.
Yeah.
Then when she got the permit, it was...
Yeah, it was fine. But it's just one of those interesting things that that's why I felt the story was so strong and just grounded almost in reality to a point. I know that like it's easy to check your mind at the door because there's a lot of crazy shit that happens in these games, and we haven't even gotten into like some of the set pieces that involve in this game that are unbelievable. But like the story really does push you all the way through, and I didn't want to stop playing it ever.
And the way the world reflects what's going on, the more like you learn about the pirates thing falling apart, it's not even about the treasure anymore. It's about the obsession.
Yes.
And then the more there you start to realize how messed up things got. You see these barricades around Libertalia. You're like, oh shit, went down. The relationships with Nate and Sam and Elena and Sully start to fall apart. And then that's when like Drake in that scene with the pirates realizes he's like, shit, this really screwed over all the pirates. Henry and 2. Before you find out that 2 died too, it's like Henry and 2 both like just wanted the treasure themselves.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm going down that same road. He identifies with Avery, who identified with Saint Dismas. The difference being, Avery didn't come to grips with it. Drake did.
Speaking of the world affecting around them, something that I thought was so awesome, and someone really took the time to develop this, is when you first get to the island, you see the mountain peak. I don't know if have you seen it yet. There's like
it looks like the Grinch.
It's kind of like a hook mountain that's basically in it is where the ship is.
Okay.
You don't think much of it. It's a really cool looking mountain. As you kind of mosey around the bay, and when Sam drops that lie, you have that
background.
No, that sorry, the
flashback.
Flashback. Excuse me.
Yeah.
And then but basically when you come back out of it, you look at that same mountain. You've now reached the other side of it, and it looks like straight up a shark head. There's certain peaks of it when the light
And teeth.
and now there's an eye on it. Basically, it's what you were led to believe with your brother coming to the island, thinking this is a elaborate, amazing adventure. And then when the lie unfolds, you see the true nature of the island. Then the treasure, and then Avery start basically having their own second meaning.
Yeah.
Plus the game itself gets more difficult right around then. You start having more firefights, or at least like needing to use more stealth, and there's more enemies. And then it kind of like the world itself, and that's when you really start to see. You find all the mansions of the individual pirates, and you see them all like just destroyed between each other. This infighting that happened.
Small detail, but who was the skeleton in the cage in the title screen?
There's no. There's a ton of them at one point.
So
You're
there is, and I was
climbing
trying
on
to
them.
find it. There's a couple areas that have that, and I was trying to look for it. There's a bunch of guys. I couldn't find the one with the hat.
Well,
though.
also, you go into this escape shaft out of Henry Avery's mansion when you start to realize how crazy and how obsessed you become. And you go into this one room, and it's like the mouths of the people who lied to me. And there's these skeleton jaws hanging from strings. And then it's like the ears of the people, or the ribs of the people
the heart who took my heart or something like that.
Something like that. And
He
there's
just
just rib
got crazy.
cages. Yeah.
Dark crazy.
Yeah.
And then it gets even worse when you get down and they have like those like mummies that are booby trapped, and
Yeah.
it just gets
He was
like
clearly paranoid.
crazy.
Yeah. And that's like the thing about Libertalia, why it's cool how it's set up. It starts to parallel the stories, and it shows how Drake kind of his character arc resolved itself, because you do a second flashback when they're kids. It's the same exact. The first flashback ends when you get on the motorcycle to go find the mom's notes. The second one picks up where that left off. You find her note about Francis Drake and about Henry Morgan, and the older lady who owns the mansion like points a gun at you and almost calls she does call the cops, and you have to run from the cops. It's actually a pretty scary part, or a pretty tense part. But you find out that she was friends with Cassandra Morgan, their mom, and their dad was just like shitty dad left.
I was like, when she died, it was just like, I was like, oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, that lady died too.
Because she basically, she's so old, and she's like smoking and old, and then like she's like, don't worry, I'll take care of the police. I called them on you because I thought you were bad guys, but I'll take care of it. And then she just drops dead. Yeah. And they're just like, oh, that's bad timing.
Yeah, great. So they're and then you have to bolt from the police, and then you pick off, and then he's like, I'm not going back to the orphanage, and he goes with his brother to do stuff, steal shit,
and they just become who they are now. So
and then him and Elena. There's a part where you're worried they're not gonna like reconcile it, and then she starts to kind of and also her joke that messed with me so much.
So I thought someone was who's gonna die, who's gonna like really make this like cave in, because these characters are so amazing, and there's a fall
at the end of that escape shaft, explosion,
where Elena and Nate hit the ground, and he gets up, and right away you notice that
I know what you're talking about
that
now.
Elena
Yep.
isn't moving. She's laying down with her back to him.
he's in the foreground,
And she's fucking with him.
And he makes a joke. Yeah, he's like, oh, that was something crazy.
Elena.
You okay?
And then that's when I'm like, oh, she's not moving. And everybody's like, she dies?
yeah, and then
She's fucking with them, right?
Yeah.
She's totally fucking with
And
him.
then he's like,
that's about the joke. And you're
that
like,
is their relationship. Like
Yeah.
that is what they were missing, right? They were missing
Yeah.
that fun excitement of just screwing with each other,
he was
having
pissed.
an adventure.
And then she
I
was like, well,
was
we're even now.
We're even, yeah.
Or no, I think he said we're even now. I could be butchering this. I think
Yeah.
he
No,
said we're even now. And
exactly.
she's like, no, we're getting there. or
Yeah, we're
something.
getting
like,
there.
yeah,
Can you
right.
imagine if he was just like, hey, well, that's one problem solved. Done with her. She's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it was. I was like you. I was like, there's no. But that's the thing. At no point did I ever think they were killing anybody off in this game, like
Really?
anybody important. I knew that. I sat there and I was like,
It's kind of an easy way to create, like,
it's one of those things that people.
It's a cop out, right?
Well, I don't even want to call it a cop out, but like it's one of those things where, in this day and age where we're kind of now been groomed to be used to just really important people dying, thanks to George R.R. Martin. I just thought that like it's too easy, right, to just kill somebody for dramatic effect. Like just kill someone off. The only thing again I was really concerned about was I was a little worried about the whole like I have to save my brother. Archetype, whatever, like it's like the whole Gone in 60 Seconds cliche where it's like my brother did business with a bad guy and I have to like go save him now, but they cleared that was all a lie. It wasn't even real, and he just found out that his brother just wanted to find this treasure with his younger brother, and that was all that he really cared about. So I thought they resolved it well, and they didn't use anything for just dramatic effect. It wasn't like we're gonna kill someone off because that's what you're supposed to do, right? Like in these kind of games, that's kind of what everyone's expecting, And so in a way, I thought they threw a curveball by not killing anybody important off. I know it's a very happy ending, I get that, but at the same time, I just felt they did a good job of just maybe keeping us on our toes and wondering if it was going to happen. Because I actually thought Sam was going to die at the end. I thought like when that beam was on him, that was it. He's like, go save yourself, save yourself. Heavy. But then I thought, wait, Nathan's not going to leave his brother back again.
Yeah, because he had the guilt from the prison.
Yeah.
I think why I really felt like someone was going to die was because I just remember how I felt after Last of Us, where like that was
I haven't finished that game.
Okay, then I won't say much. But basically, like, you know, throughout the journey, that happens. Throughout the journey of it,
Right.
And every time you're like, oh man, like who's next? Like that's how I felt throughout that game. But then you realize that this is still Naughty Dog, but they were able to pull those strings together, right?
Yeah.
And fix and combined such a brilliant story from Last of Us and the action adventure, lighthearted tone of the Uncharted series, and it was just like I didn't know what to expect because I thought they were so similar.
It was just like I said, it was just a really solid story, like for a video game especially, and anything. Like I don't even know why they would want to make a movie. Like no, it doesn't make. I mean, that is the movie. Like that could be a perfect, you know, scene for scene, take by take version of a freaking film because it just follows that 3-act structure so well.
Well, that's why I was explaining to you why I played with auto aim or lock on.
I did too.
Because it doesn't seem to be a game that's testing your skill more than it is taking you along for a ride. And so like I was treating it as a film like experience for the most part
too.
that I got to, you know, play a part in from here and there. But
well, it's like
Did you find it just difficult? I didn't play like that at all. Did you guys find it difficult?
no, I turned it on to begin with.
I turned it on from the start. I mean, the thing is, okay, my biggest
I don't do
issue.
that normally, by the way.
Well,
it
neither
just,
do I.
It just
but
seemed like the game fits it.
It just seems like my biggest issue with games like this, like my only complaint with The Last of Us were, to me, again, the best parts about that game were when I wasn't playing it. It was just when I was watching the story unfold. Now that's me. Not everybody is like that. I get it, you know. But in this particular game, I sometimes, in previous Uncharted, felt that sometimes the gameplay, especially when I played on hard, could almost kind of get in the way of the story. And I'm really playing Uncharted for the story. I don't think the gameplay in Uncharted is like revolutionary and amazing. It's not bad, but it's not like life changing. You know, it's not Metal Gear Solid. It's not, you know, it's very serviceable gameplay that helps you prolong, you know, and extend the narrative, right? And I just figured, okay, listen, I'm not playing this game to challenge myself really. I'm not playing this game to like get humongous headshots or kill shots. I just want auto aim on so I can kill these guys, move on, and move forward. And by the way, we didn't talk about this, but you kill so fewer people in this game than previous Uncharted by far.
Especially if you're trying to.
Yeah.
But back to your point though, like about just killing guys like, you know, all the time magically. Like you look at some of the scenes, like especially like the orphanage scene where you have these teenagers jumping like 15-foot gaps.
Yes.
Like they're doing this inhuman stuff like or superhuman shit all the time.
Yeah.
To me, it made sense that they could also be sharpshooters.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Like
and expert climbers.
That's why Indiana Jones is like a dead eye with his gun too.
Yeah. And so I just like, for me, it felt like, at least for the way I wanted to experience the game, lock on was a good way to do that.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I mean,
agree.
I didn't even think.
I mean, the game
about that. I find that really interesting that everyone kind of seemed to like, or not you, but like other people. I think Mary was doing the same thing.
It's
interesting.
very. That's why like when I go back and replay it again, I might use just for fun the bullet time you unlock. Anytime you raise your gun, it goes into bullet time. It's unlimited. And that's the thing. The game itself is just in its pacing and its momentum. It just continues even in its like quiet moments and in its fast pace. Like I'm getting dragged through a river in the mud, climbing up a rope, jumping from a truck, hammer punching someone.
Spoilers.
And that's this game. It just maintains momentum throughout everything in like a lot of different ways, and that's why I love it so much.
And that's what I was gonna say. Like the pacing of it, I think, is just top notch. Where you have like these breaks, right? Even breaks you don't even have to take. Like there's that scene in Libertalia where like you could walk up to a table and chairs and you know pop up a chair and sit there and have a conversation with Sam. You don't actually have to have that conversation, but you just pop up. You just had a crazy moment. You just start talking about life and about his story and Nathan's story, and they're kind of reconnecting more and more, you know? And it's cool to have like those little conversational moments where like you don't have to just dive into action scene after action scene, you know?
And this reminded me a lot of The Last of Us, where after Ellie had that crazy, where she killed, I forget, who was it, Henry?
David.
David.
The Nolan North
crazy
character.
Kill.
Yeah.
And then, you know, 10...
Are you at this part?
I've actually heard about that part. He's the crazy guy in
I'm
the cabin.
sorry,
who,
David,
I was
yeah.
forgetting.
No, that's okay.
He's the
I actually
leader
know
of
about
like
that
this
already.
survivors group in Colorado, and it's Nolan North when he comes in.
Anyways,
and Troy Baker.
And then right after, it's like this giraffe scene where like it's like
Oh, that huge shot.
it's this exact opposite as far as like an emotional roller coaster you just go through, and she's enjoying this moment, and you are too. And that I remember choking up on that. I think there was a very similar. What I'm trying to get at is Naughty Dog is so freaking good at stuff like that. Where like after Nate loses Sully and Elena, and he's still with Sam, and they go out. The next scene is you on a boat in the tropics, and it's amazing, and you're clicking beers, but something else isn't clicking, which is Sam like, hey, let me get you a beer. Like, hey, isn't this the life?
He's overselling it.
Yeah.
And Drake's
and,
not buying
and Drake
it. Yeah.
is just like, or sorry, Nathan is just like, yeah, man. And then throughout the rest of like the next 15 minutes is like really kind of passive aggressive dialogue between the two as you're playing
Out of cutscene,
as you're playing the game. Like,
Yeah.
like where'd you go? Like, remember he gets lost for a second. He's like, where the hell were you? And they're like, yeah. I
And
don't know.
even when they sat down for that incidental conversation, you could tell Sam still doesn't know whether Nathan is coming back to him or not. He's just
Yeah.
like, he kind of like looks. He's like, while Nathan's talking, he's kind of looking at him like his whole like his voice is kind of shaking a
Yeah.
little bit.
I
love
He's just-
that.
he's- the voice
the
acting's
guilt is
unreal.
coming out.
If
where
you've
he's
ever
like,
had anyone angry at you for doing something that, bad that you did, like God, that feeling.
Well, it's
Dude, you probing them to see if they
And-
forgave you or not.
Yeah.
and you don't know because
Right.
they're not
Right.
coming forward. It's
Right.
it's so it's passive
you're just like,
aggressive.
do I
right?
try harder? Do I just?
Do I-
oh, shit.
like I'm not like it goes both ways, right?
Yeah.
Like you're not yourself, right? That's why Sam's like, what do I do? How do I handle this? Let me get some beers,
Yeah.
And, it's so well done.
So I want to close this out real quickly. We've been doing this for like 40 minutes. So I want to close this out, what you guys think about the prologue, or the epilogue, sorry, at the end, where we find out they have a daughter who also is, because of her parents, also a very good treasure hunter. What do we think with how this franchise will be treated into the future? Do you think we'll get another Uncharted with Cassie? Do you think we'll get another Uncharted maybe with Sam and Sully's adventures? What are you guys' thoughts?
I think they'll continue it with Cassie, if anything. They've said, like, the one thing they've confirmed is that they are done with Nathan Drake.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Not just Uncharted?
Or no, Naughty Dog said they're done with Uncharted, I believe.
Right.
But
Sony owns
but
the
I would, but yeah, I would not be surprised to see more Uncharted from someone else with Cassie.
Probably Santa Monica.
Some other like first party studio.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Santa
Yeah.
Monica studio.
Yeah. First, I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Yeah.
And I'm glad like Nathan Drake had his character arc and it's done.
Yes.
Because there's no one else taking Nathan Drake.
No.
At least they better not, because this is it's his end. Like
It's done.
he's
Yeah.
Where does the mobile game fit into his arc?
God damn it.
I didn't even play that. Honestly, I don't know.
It looks. Nathan Drake's character model looks ridiculous.
Whatever.
It's like that long neck or whatever.
Yes,
he's a giraffe. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I would.
No.
Go ahead, Rob.
Naughty Dog will reign supreme on that series. Like no one will be able to top that.
I feel bad for the studio.
Like
I
that has to
think-
top it, right? Like I don't know. I don't care. I'd rather just see something else from Naughty Dog.
Well, I mean, I think
that's
you
about it.
will. I also think that this kind of gives them a chance to take 5 years off, 6 years off, maybe.
Totally, yeah.
Maybe when the PlayStation, 6 comes out or whatever, whatever the new console was then in like 4, 5, 6, 7 years, like they revisit this with Cassie and kind of reboot the series, but with a new character. Because it's like at this point, what do you have? You have Uncharted, which seemed like it just ended its entire series, and now we have Tomb Raider, which I don't see that stopping anytime soon. I'm sure they'll make another one after Rise of the Tomb Raider. So it'd be interesting to see where they go from here. But I would agree. I would like to see maybe something with Cassie in like 5 years.
It's just a way of keeping that open ended, but
Yeah.
really nicely, right? Like you could go either way.
Yeah.
Like there wasn't like a firm Cassie will be appearing in the next Uncharted series.
Yeah.
Like in the end,
That would have been great. No, that would
no, it was perfectly done. It was a nice wrap.
I think they tied up everything they needed to.
Yeah,
Or
100%
anything
agree.
they could have. I'm sure they're like Chloe. You see a note from her early on the game.
Yeah.
She's the only one that and he reads it and he's like another lifetime Chloe or something. So
Yeah.
maybe she'll come back. I don't know.
I also, by the way, like to maybe end it finally. Like I just thought it was really cool to see Naughty Dog thank Amy Hennig at the very end of the
Yeah,
game.
definitely.
I thought that was fantastic because she had been such a huge part in those first 3 games, especially. So that was really cool to see Naughty Dog kind of give props to her.
Yeah.
On her work on the franchise.
Definitely. That was like right after the credits ended, right? That was
Yep.
just the full screen
Yeah.
to herself. Yeah. Yeah.
So very cool.
Anyway, so that's the end of our spoiler cast. If we missed anything that we didn't get the time to talk about, feel free to start a conversation
Yeah.
in the comments, tweet at us, whatever. But yeah, if you haven't finished the game like Pete, I highly encourage you to go finish the game now. It's still very much worth playing through just to see how they tackle all this stuff and how fun it is.
You guys haven't not diminished my interest in finishing this at all.
Cool.
It's great.
Awesome. Well, anyway, until next time.
See you guys.